So, what does this guy have to do with the fact that those comments you get from piano judges are completely useless? And why is the answer to that problem training a dog? We're gonna find out in today's video. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not talking about these world famous piano competitions. I frankly don't know what the process is like for those competitions. Just what I've seen from entering my own students at the local level. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple stories on why piano competition feedback is useless. The first one has to do with my first dog, Casper. He's still around today. And I remember he was 1 year old at the time. And back then, I was a college student. So I came home from a long day of boring college lectures. And of course, every time you come home, there's my dog to greet me at the door. So I sat down on the couch and I wanted to unwind a bit, see what's on TV. So I grabbed my remote control. I pressed the power button. For some reason, the TV's not turning on. So I checked the remote. Is there anything wrong with the remote? No, there's nothing wrong with the remote because I pressed the button, the lights are still blinking. So I walk over to the actual TV and I press the power button. It's still not turning on. I'm kind of freaking out because a TV for me at that point was kind of expensive. I was trying to figure out what is wrong with this TV until I looked behind the TV stand, and what do you think I saw? All the wires for this TV had been chewed through. And this is not the first time we've had a problem with teething. He went through one of my wife's purses before, believe it or not, and an actual library book that I had, which is kind of funny because I was able to use the excuse, my dog ate my homework. But what point am I trying to make? Am I trying to say my dog has the jaws of life, that he has an iron stomach because he had zero digestive issues? No, the problem has to do with one of delay. So if you were in that position, if that's ever happened to you, or if you know anyone that has happened to, what would be our gut instinct? And this is a mistake I know pretty well that I've made plenty of times. Our natural instinct in that moment is to get mad at the dog and to punish him for doing something bad. But it's a mistake because of delay. Literally what happens with a dog, there's some science out there to back this up. About a minute, I don't know what the exact time is, like a minute or two, they've completely forgotten what they did. Ignorance is bliss. And a lot of people might disagree because they're like, well, my dog, when that happens, I point the finger at him. I let him know I'm mad, and you can see from his face, he has a very guilty face. You can tell he did something wrong. But the problem is they don't know what they did wrong. All they know is that you're angry. And a second story is when I was doing my piano juries. Now, if you don't know what a jury is, for a music major, it's an end of the semester test that we all have to do. We present all the music that we've been studying, and usually it's in an intimidating environment. I remember whenever I had to do my juries, it's inside the big concert hall where we used to have concerts. And instead of it being filled up, it's completely empty. I'm on stage, I'm by myself, and the piano faculty is in the empty auditorium. It's very intimidating because they're watching and listening to every single note that you're playing. So what would happen is a week after these juries, I would get called into my piano teacher's office and we would go over the notes from all the piano faculty members. And looking at the notes, you could tell they had some useful things to say, some helpful critiques, but it's just the same problem because a week had already gone by. I had totally forgotten how I played that day. I don't even remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, and I'm sure you have that same problem too. Have you ever walked down the stairs to do something, and the moment your foot touches that first floor, you totally forget what it is you're supposed to do? That's how memory works, and in a way, that's also how feedback works. And by the way, that's also why it's good to have a notebook with you at all times, or if you have your smartphone, if there's something you need to remember, just write it down immediately. Because if you don't, a few seconds later, you might forget that, and then you're going through the rest of your day, maybe even your entire week, where you have that nagging feeling. What is that thing I'm supposed to remember? I feel like it's important. So the problem with competition feedback, that's magnified because most of the time when I get the comments back for my students, it's already weeks later. So at that point, even if there's good advice in there, there is no way you can apply it. So to summarize, feedback is totally useless if it's delayed. What is a possible solution to this? Well, obviously, it's just to do the reverse and to give feedback the exact moment that it happens. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work for a competition / music festival, sometimes is what they call it, because it would change the whole format. You would have to turn it into an American Idol type of event, and that might be a logistical nightmare. But that type of format works because they're able to give feedback as soon as the performer is done with their performance. So we're obviously not in a competition right now. Maybe you've never been in one. Maybe you don't have any plans to be in one. So how do we apply this idea to our personal lives? Well, it has to do with dog training. The number one rule that they teach you in training a dog is that you need to give the correct type of feedback, whether it is praising or whether it is correction for a bad behavior. You need to do that as soon as the action happens. As soon as you're trying to teach your dog how to do a trick, like you're teaching them how to sit, as soon as their butt touches the floor, that's when you give them a treat and then you praise them.
Roll over. Good boy. Bang. Good boy. Speak. Good boy. Ow.
So the next time you're hanging out with some friends, interacting with some coworkers, or maybe even if you're a teacher yourself, remember to implement feedback the right way. That is to do it exactly the moment it happens. Now, a last thing here, I'm not discouraging you to do any of these piano competitions, music festivals. I don't really have any opinion about it. But the next time you get actual comments from these piano judges, and if it doesn't make any sense to you, feel free to disregard the whole thing. And also, giving feedback is only one part of the formula. There are many more other things that go into giving effective feedback. That could be an entire video on its own. I hope you learned something useful from today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button. If it's your first time here, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video. I'll see you guys next time, and happy practicing.